Point operation box is connected. The circuit breaker is provided on the front side of the FD11 controller. And the teach pendant and operation box are connected here as well. Circuit breaker, this turns the power of the controller on and off. Teach pendant, the teach pendant has the keys and buttons to perform teaching, file operation, various condition settings, etc. Operation box buttons for performing the minimum required operations such as motor power on, automatic operation start and stop, emergency stop, and switching between the teach and playback modes are provided. Fig. 2.1.1 FD11 controller operation box specifications. Circuit breaker, teach pendant, operation box 2.1 controller, 2 to 2. 2.1.2 When there is an operation panel, the circuit breaker and operation panel are provided on the front side of the FD11 controller, and the teach pendant is connected here as well. Fig. 2.1.2 FD11 controller operation panel specifications. Circuit breaker, this turns the power of the controller on and off. Teach pendant, the teach pendant has the keys and buttons to perform teaching, file operation, various condition settings, etc. Operation panel buttons for performing the minimum required operations such as motor power on, automatic operation start and stop, emergency stop, and switching between the teach and playback modes are provided. Operation panel, circuit breaker, teach pendant 2.2 operation box, 2 to 3. 2.2 operation box. The operation box is provided with the minimum buttons required to exercise basic control over the robot, such as motor power on, starting and stopping automatic operation, emergency stop, and switching between modes. Table 2.2.1 Functions of buttons and switches on the operation box. Indication used in this manual description of function, a motor on button. This is used to set the motor power to on. When it is set to on, the robot is readied for operation. Start button in the playback mode. This starts the program which has been specified. See stop button in the playback mode. This stops the program which is in the start status. Mode select switch. This is used to select the mode. The teach or playback mode can be selected. This switch is used in combination with the teach pendant TP selector switch. Emergency stop button. When this is pressed, the robot is set to emergency stop. Emergency stop is performed by pressing the switch on the control box or on the teach pendant. To release emergency stop, turn the button clockwise. The button will then return to its original position. Point when a control box is connected. An operation panel cannot be installed. Emergency stop. Motor on. Start. Stop. Street 2, Street 3, Street 4. Teach playback. Fig. 2.2.1 Operation box. A, C, D, E 2.3 Operation panel. 2 to 4. 2.3 Operation panel. The operation panel is provided with the minimum buttons required to exercise basic control over the robot, such as motor power on, switching between the modes, starting and stopping automatic operation, and emergency stop. Table 2.3.1 Functions of buttons and switches on the operation panel. Indication used in this manual description of function, a motor on button. This is used to set the motor power to on. When it is set to on, the robot is readied for operation. Start button in the playback mode. This starts the program which has been specified. See stop button in the playback mode. This stops the program which is in the start status. Mode select switch. This is used to select the mode. The teach or playback mode can be selected. This switch is used in combination with the teach pendant TP selector switch. Emergency stop button. When this is pressed, the robot is set to emergency stop. Emergency stop is performed by pressing the switch on the operation panel or on the teach pendant. To release emergency stop, turn the button clockwise. The button will then return to its original position. Point if an operation panel is installed. A control box cannot be connected. Fig. 2.3.1 Operation panel. CE 2.4 Teach pendant. 2 to 5. 2.4 Teach pendant. 2.4.1 External appearance of teach pendant. The teach pendant is provided with operation keys, buttons, switches and jog dials, etc. For creating programs and performing various settings, you can allocate move commands to number key 7-9 by pressing the enable key at the same time as a number key 7-9, and allocate often used function commands function groups by pressing the enable key and a number key 4-6. Functions can also be allocated to the jog dial. Caution. Be sure to follow the cautions below for the USB port. See Fig. 2.4.2. Only connect USB memory while operating files. When file operations have finished, always remove the USB memory and close the USB cap. Continuing use with the USB memory connected, or failing to close the USB cap may hinder the dust protection, waterproofing, and anti-spatter properties, which may lead to failure. The USB cap is a consumable part. If the USB cap becomes loose, or is damaged or lost, quickly replace it with a new one. In the time until a new one is procured, use tape etc. to block up the USB port. Fig. 2.4.1 Teach pendant front. Info. The design of the operation keys shown in Fig. 2.4.1 may be slightly different to those on the actual Teach pendant. Operation keys. Jog dial. Touch panel LCD screen. Emergency stop button. TP selector switch 2.4 Teach pendant. 2 to 6. Fig. 2.4.2 Teach pendant rear. 2.4.2 LED functions. LEDs are arranged above each Teach pendant operation key, and operate as shown below. Fig. 2.4.3 Teach pendant LED. Table 2.4.1 LED functions. LED color. Functions. Green. Flashes during preparation of motor power on, and lights when motor power is on servo on. It is the same as the green motor power on button lamp on the operation panel and control box. Orange flashes after the power to the controller is switched on, and lights when the Teach pendant system starts. At all other times it remains lit. C. Red lights when a hardware malfunction occurs in the Teach pendant. Normally this remains off. Info. Directly after power to the controller is switched on, all of the LEDs light for approximately 0.5 seconds to check they are operating normally, and then switch off. After this, they operate as shown in Table 2.4.1. USB port. Enable switch. USB cap. A, B, C 2.4 Teach pendant. 2 to 7. 2.4.3 Functions of buttons and switches. The buttons and switches on the Teach pendant have the following functions. Table 2.4.2 Functions of buttons and switches. External appearance. Indication used in this manual function. TP selector switch. This is used to switch between the Teach mode and the playback mode in combination with the mode select switch on the operation panel or control box. For further details, refer to 3.2 mode selection in Chapter 3, Emergency Stop button. When this is pressed, the robot is set to emergency stop. To release emergency stop, turn the button in the direction of the arrow. The button will then return to its original position. Enable switch. Used to manually operate the robot in Teach mode. Normally, it is provided on the left side only. There may be two buttons, one at the left and the other at the right as an option. When the enable switch is grasped, power is supplied to the robot motor power on servo on. The robot can be operated manually only while the switch is grasped. If an impending danger is sensed, either release the enable switch or grasp it tightly until a clicking sound is heard. The robot is set to emergency stop. For details on how to operate the enable switch, refer to 3.3 Turning the motor power to on in Chapter 3, Jog dial. The jog dial has two operations, a longitudinal dial rotation operation and a latitudinal push button operation. The dial rotation operations move the cursor and scrolls through screens, and the push button operation selects items and enters inputs. Also, a wide range of operations, such as frequently used key operations, can be allocated to the dial rotation operation and push button operation. For details, see 2.4.8 Jog dial, 2.4 Teach pendant, 2 to 8. 2.4.4 Functions of operation keys. The operation keys provided on the Teach pendant have the following functions. Table 2.4.3 Functions of operation keys. External appearance. Indication used in this manual function. Enable. The functions are executed by pressing this key together with other keys. Also, various functions can be executed by rotating or pushing the jog dial while holding down this key. Shift. The functions are executed by pressing this key together with other keys. Also, various functions can be executed by rotating or pushing the jog dial while holding down this key. Motor power on. The motor power is set to on by pressing this key, together with the enable key. Mechanism selection. When a multiple number of mechanisms are connected to the system, the mechanism to be operated manually is selected. Unit/mechanism. Unit selection. When a multiple number of units are defined in the system, the unit to be operated is selected. This key is used by a system in which a multiple number of mechanisms are connected, and it has the following functions. Synchro motion on/off. It selects or releases synchronized cooperative manual operation. Synchronize. Synchro motion on/off. When synchronized cooperative operation is specified for a move command, appears before the step number. Coordinate system selection. During manual operation, the coordinate system that serves as the reference for operation is selected each time it is pressed. The axis-independent, orthogonal coordinates or user coordinates or tool coordinates are selected and displayed on the LCD screen. Interop/coord. Interpolation type selection. This switches the interpolation type joint interpolation, linear interpolation or circular interpolation of the recording status with enable, pressed on its own, with enable, pressed on its own, with enable, pressed on its own. 2.4 Teach pendant, 2 to 9. Table 2.4.3 Functions of operation keys. External appearance. Indication used in this manual function. Manual speed change. The operating speed of the robot during manual operation is selected each time it is pressed. One of the 1 to 5 operating speeds is selected. The higher the number, the faster the speed. Furthermore, the following function is provided as well. Operating modes. The playback speed recorded in the steps is also determined by the manual speed which has been selected by this key, info. This function is set by selecting constant setting 5 operation constants for record speed value of recording method decision method. Check SPD/teach speed. Check speed change. The speed during a check go or check back operation is selected each time it is pressed. One of the 1 to 5 operating speeds is selected. The higher the number, the faster the speed. Continuous/non-continuous. Continuous or non-continuous during a check go or check back operation is selected. When continuous operation is selected, the operation of the robot does not stop at each step. Stop/continuous. Playback stop. The program being played back is stopped. This has the same function as the stop button. If a multiple number of monitor screens are displayed, the screen targeted for operation is selected. Close/select screen. The selected monitor screen is closed. No function. Axis operating keys. Axis operation. The robot is moved manually. If an auxiliary axis to be moved, the operation target is selected ahead of time using unit/mechanism with enable switch. Pressed on its own. Pressed on its own. With enable. With enable. Pressed on its own. With enable. Pressed on its own. 2.4 Teach pendant, 2 to 10. Table 2.4.3 Functions of operation keys. External appearance. Indication used in this manual function. No function. Check go check back. Check go/back. When these are pressed together with the enable switch, the check go or check back operation is performed. Normally, the robot is stopped at each recorded position step. It is also possible to move the robot continuously. Use stop/continuous to select step or continuous. Recording a movement command. During teaching, the movement command is recorded. This can be used only when the last step in the task program has been selected. Write/rec. Overwriting the movement command. The already recorded movement command is overwritten by the current recording status's position, speed, interpolation type, and accuracy. However, the command can be overwritten only when changes are made to what is recorded for the movement commands. A movement command cannot be overwritten by a function command. Neither can a function command be overwritten by another function command. Operating mode of the recording position of a recorded movement command can be revised using mod position. Operating modes. The recording position, speed and accuracy of a recorded movement command can each be revised using mod position, speed and acc, respectively. Info. The speed and acc key functions are set by selecting constant setting 5 operation constants 1 operation condition, 5 usage of SPD key or 6 usage of acc key, with enable, pressed on its own, with enable switch, pressed on its own. 2.4 Teach pendant, 2 to 11. Table 2.4.3 Functions of operation keys. External appearance. Indication used in this manual function. No function. Insertion of a movement command. Operating mode of the movement command is inserted after the current step. Operating modes. The movement command is inserted before the current step. Info. Before can be changed to after or vice versa by selecting constant setting, 5 operation constants 1 operation condition, 7 step insertion position. This key functions in a different way depending on the application concerned. When the arc welding application is used, easy selection of a command. Frequently used function commands such as the movement command, welding start and stop commands and weaving commands are displayed in the F key, and can be input. No function. When the spot welding application is used, spot welding command, it is used to set the spot welding command, each time the key is pressed. The on or off is selected for the recording status. Manual press. The spot welding gun is manually pressurized. Clamp arc. Other functions can also be allocated. For details, see 4.13 clamp/arc key settings in the setup of the instruction manual. No function. Mod position step position modification. The position stored in the movement command now selected is changed to the current robot position. Help. Press this for help concerning an operation or function. The built-in tutorial function help function is called no function. Del step deletion. The step now selected movement, command or function command is deleted. Reset/R. This clears the input or returns the setting screen to its original status. It also enables R codes shortcut codes to be input. The function that is to be used can be called immediately by inputting an R code with enable pressed on its own, 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 with enable pressed on its own. 2.4 Teach pendant 2 to 12. Table 2.4.3 Functions of operation keys. External appearance. Indication used in this manual function. Step selection. This is used to call a step specified in the program. Prog/step. Program selection. The specified program is called enter. This enters the menu or numerical input contents. Info. Determination operation of numerical input can also be performed with arrow keys by constant setting -7 key 7, numerical input and switching to cursor under decision method of numerical input. Cursor movement. When these keys are pressed on their own, the cursor moves. Cursor keys. Page up/down. Setting modification on a screen where the settings are configured on a multiple number of pages. The page is moved. Lines are moved in units of multiple lines in the work program editing screen, etc. on a service or constant setting screen. For instance, the selection items arranged horizontally radio buttons are selected on a teach or playback mode screen. The number of the current step is changed. Shortcut for set function. During teaching, this shortcut calls the output signal command set FN105 function command out. Manual signal output. The external signals are set to on or off manually. During teaching, this shortcut calls the input signal weight positive logic command weighty FN525 function command SPD. Operating mode of this is used to set the speed of movement commands. The setting is reflected in the recording status. Operating modes. This is used to revise the speed of recorded movement commands. Info. This function is set by selecting constant setting 5 operation constants 1 operation condition 5 usage of SPD key with enable pressed on its own with enable pressed on its own with enable pressed on its own. 2.4 Teach pendant 2 to 13. Table 2.4.3 Functions of operation keys. External appearance. Indication used in this manual function. ACK. Operating mode of this is used to set the accuracy of a movement command which is to be recorded. What has been set is reflected in the recording status. Operating modes. This is used to revise the accuracy of a recorded movement command. Info. This function is set by selecting constant setting 5 operation constants 1 operation condition 6 usage of ACK key. Shortcut for delay function. During teaching, this shortcut records the timer command delay FN50 function command end/timer. Shortcut for end function. During teaching, this shortcut records the end command end FN92 function command with enable pressed on its own. 2.4 Teach pendant 2 to 14. Table 2.4.3 Functions of operation keys. External appearance. Indication used in this manual function. Numerical input. Numbers 0 to 9. Decimal point are input. Joint interpolation with 7. A shortcut for a joint move command. Linear interpolation with 8. A shortcut for a lin move command. Circular interpolation with 9. A shortcut for a SIR move command. For arc welding uses. Application function 1 with 4. During teaching, commands for arc welding are displayed on the F keys F1 F12. Application function 2 with 5. During teaching, commands for weaving are displayed on the F keys F1 F12. Application function 3 with 6. During teaching, commands for sensors are displayed on the F keys F1 F12. For uses other than arc welding, application function 1 with 4, application function 2 with 5, application function 3 with 6, application functions 1-3 can be allocated to the desired functions. For details, see 7.7 Customizing hard keys. On with 1, on a setting screen. For instance, a check mark is placed inside the checkbox. Off with 2, on a setting screen. For instance, the check mark inside the checkbox is removed. Redo with 3. This ray does the operation which was restored by clearing undo the operation immediately before. It is effective only while creating a new or editing an existing program. Plus with 0. Plus is input. Numeric keys /0 to 9/ minus with. Minus is input. With enable. 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 Pressed on its own 2.4 teach pendant. 2 to 15. Table 2.4.3 Functions of operation keys. External appearance. Indication used in this manual function. Deletion of a number or character. The number or character before the cursor position is deleted. The key is also used to release a selection during file operations. BS undo. The operation performed immediately before is cleared, and the status prior to the change is restored. It is effective only while creating a new or editing an existing program. FN function. This is used when selecting the function. Commands. Edit. Opens the program editing screen. In the program editing screen, mainly function commands are changed, added or deleted, and the parameters of move commands are changed. I/F interface opens the interface panel window with enable. Pressed on its own 2.4 teach pendant. 2 to 16. 2.4.5 Configuration of display screen. Indicated on the display screens are the program and settings used for the current operation, and the icons F keys for selecting the various functions. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 1. Fig. 2.4.4 Configuration of display screen. 1 Mode display area. The selected mode teach, playback or high-speed teach is displayed here. The high-speed teach mode is optional. The motor power, operation underway and emergency stopped statuses are also displayed. Table 2.4.4 Status display. Status teach mode. Playback mode. Motor power off. Motor power on. Servo power off. Now saving energy. Playback mode. Motor power on. Servo power on. Motors energized. Check go/back operation underway. Teach mode. Now operating. Playback mode. Emergency stopped. 2 Program number display area. The number of the selected program is displayed. 2.4 Teach pendant. 2 to 17. 3 Step number display area. The number of the steps selected in the program is displayed here. The total number of steps is displayed on a step number. 4 Date and time display area. The current date and time are displayed here. 5 Mechanism display area. The mechanism targeted for manual operation is displayed here, with a multi-unit specifications robot. The numbers of the units involved in the teaching are also displayed. 6 Coordinate system display area. The selected coordinate is displayed here. Table 2.4.5 Coordinate system display. Types of coordinate systems display. Axis coordinate system. Machine coordinate system. Tool coordinate system. The number on the left of the icon is the tool number. Work coordinate system. Absolute coordinate system. World coordinate system. Cylindrical coordinate system. User coordinate system. The number on the left of the icon is the coordinate number. Welding line coordinate system. 7 Speed display area. The manual operation speed is displayed here. When enable is pressed, the check speed is displayed. Table 2.4.6 Speed display. Speed display. Manual speed. Check speed. 8 Monitor display area. The contents of the program are displayed here in the case of the initial settings. 9 F key display area. By touching a display area, called F key, selectable functions are displayed. The 6 keys on the left correspond to F1 to F6. The 6 keys on the right correspond to F7 to F12. C2 to 19 2.4.6 Concerning the operation of the F keys. 10 Variable status display area. Various status displays, such as input wait I wait, and external start selected appear as the icons shown in table 2.4.7 in this area. When this status ends, the icon is cleared. 2.4 Teach pendant. 2 to 18. Table 2.4.7 Status icon display. Not all of the optional functions are listed in the above table. For details on any of the icons not described in the table, refer to the operating instructions for the optional functions concerned. Status icon. Status icon. External signal input waiting I waiting. Servo gun. Now writing gun search. Reference position. Start selection. External or program selection. Internal now selected. Servo gun. Now selecting recording position. Check mode. Start selection. Internal or program selection. External now selected. Mechanism connected number. Mechanism number. Number of sub-mechanism connected. The mechanism disconnection function is an option. Start selection, external or program selection, external now selected. Mechanism release number, mechanism number of sub-mechanism connected. The mechanism disconnection function is an option. Software PLC now operating robot in the start enable area. Software PLC now stop now log in. The 3-digit number signifies the user ID. Machine lock now set record function is allocated to the jog. Dial function. Dry run now set overwrite function is allocated to the jog. Dial function. Now connected with external PC via Ethernet. Position correction function is allocated to the jog dial function. Automatic backup preceding the extent to which the operation has been completed is indicated as a percentage. Interpolation classification switching function is allocated to the jog dial function. Temporarily stopped with station startup only, coordinate switching function is allocated to the jog dial function. Holding or now paused asterisk, this is displayed only when the hold signal or pause signal is input during playback. Insertion function is allocated to the jog dial function. Mechanism now disconnected tool fine adjustment function is allocated to the jog dial function. I/O simulation mode now selected weld wire inching/retracting function is allocated to the jog dial function. J5 axis and singular point status. The touch panel is locked. 2.4 teach pendant 2 to 19. 2.4.6 concerning the operation of the F keys, a number of icons are assigned to the F key display area. The allocation of icons differs according to the application use, such as arc welding or spot welding, etc. It is also switched in accordance with the selected mode or operating conditions. Info. The initial allocation of the F keys differs according to the application. For details on the initial allocation, see the sections in Chapter 8 and beyond in this instruction manual that correspond to the application that will be used. Enter the F key from the touch panel to select the function allocated to an icon. Touch the F key display area icon directly. F1. Each function can be selected by F2 touching the icon directly. F3, F4, F5, F6. Normally, a function is selected by pressing one of the F1, F12 icons on its own. However, in some cases the key must be pressed together with Enable. An icon displayed with the mesh display can be selected by pressing Enable. When Enable is pressed, the display changes. Some icons are only displayed when Enable is pressed. 2.4 teach pendant 2 to 20. Enter the F key from the operation key inputting using only the F keys, without using the touch panel. This is known as F key substitute operation. There are two types of operating method. See table 2.4.8 in the default settings. F key substitute operation is disabled, no key input method. Table 2.4.8 key allocation in F key substitute operation. Operation key. Pattern 1, pattern 2. For operations in this table, hold down the shift key and press the appropriate operation key. Pattern 2, pattern 1, F1, F7, F2, F8, F3, F9, F4, F10, F5, F11, F6, F12. The description below shows how to enable F key substitute operation. 1. Change the operator qualification to expert or higher. 2. Select constant setting -7 F keys. 9. Alternative F key operation. +3. Hold down Enable and press left/right to select the item. Correspondences between the F keys and operation keys for each setting are shown in table 2.4.8. 4. After selecting the item, press F12 complete. This completes the settings. 2.4 teach pendant 2 to 21. Point. Settings can also be changed from the shortcut R971. For details on shortcut operations, see Chapter 7 Useful Functions. Correspondence between shortcuts and constant settings when constant settings are configured are shown in Table 2.4.9. Table 2.4.9 Correspondence with constant settings. Shortcut constant settings 0 none. No key input method 1 pattern 1, same as the numerical figure. 2 pattern 2, same as the screen arrangement. 2.4.7 Touch panel. The touch panel is equipped as standard to the teach pendant, and the touch panel is set to be operable by default. Operations using the touch panel can be enabled or disabled by changing the setting. The touch panel can be set to temporarily lock be inoperable, even when enabled if the teach pendant is not operated for a set period of time. This is called the touch panel lock function, and prevents unwanted entries being caused by unintentional touching of the touch panel. The touch panel lock function is enabled by default. Point. The icon shown below is displayed in the status icon display if the touch panel is locked by the touch panel lock function. The following message is displayed if the touch panel is touched. In this case, the touch panel is automatically unlocked if the operation keys or jog dial are used. This section explains how to change the touch panel settings. 2.4 Teach Pendant. 2 to 22. Changing the touch panel settings. 1. Change the operator qualification to expert or higher. 2. Select constant setting -7 F keys -10 touch screen. The following setting screen is displayed. +3. Select the item using enable +left/right to enable or disable touch panel operation. To change other settings items, use up/down to move the cursor to the item you want to change. Settings are as follows. Item details. Use of touch screen. Select enable to enable use of the touch panel or disable to disable use. Touch screen lock. Select enabled to use the touch panel lock function or disabled not to use it. Non-operate time. Set the period of non-use after which the touch panel is locked. Warning at touch op. Select enable to display a message if the touch panel is touched while locked. Select disabled not to display this message. Important. Touch panel operation cannot be disabled if the method of alternative key input of F key in constant setting -7 F keys 9 alternative F key operation is set to method of inputting key none. 4. After selecting the item, press F12 complete. This completes the settings. Point. The touch panel can also be enabled/disabled from the shortcut R970. For details on shortcut operations, see Chapter 7 Useful Functions. 2.4 Teach Pendant. 2 to 23. 2.4.8 Jog dial. Jog dials, equipped as standard to teach pendants, can be rotated and pressed, and have a variety of functions. The main operations are explained in Table 2.4.10 and Table 2.4.11. Table 2.4.10 Jog dial functions. Operation. When to use. Details. When the cursor can be moved using the up, down, left, right keys. Moves the cursor up and down. When selecting the robot program monitor. Moves the current step. 1. When the page can be turned using F key plus turns the page. In arc monitor editing mode during arc welding. When changing online, slowly increases and decreases each weld condition value. Plus when the cursor can be moved using the up, down, left, right keys. Moves the cursor left and right. Plus increases or decreases the check speed. Plus when selecting the robot program monitor in teach mode, increases or decreases the manual speed. When selecting the robot program monitor, mechanism can be switched. When the enter key can be used to select items, selects items. When selecting the robot program monitor, unit can be switched. Plus when F12 key can be used to enter, execute and write values. Enters, executes, and writes values. Plus when the cursor can be moved using the up, down, left, right keys while the robot program monitor is being selected. The jog dial function allocation dialog is displayed, and the functions shown in Table 2.4.11 can be allocated to the jog dial. Functions that can be allocated differ for teach mode and playback mode. 1. In order to perform this operation, constant setting -5 operations/teaching conditions. 1. Operating conditions. 8-step selection with the plus up/down keys needs to be set to enable. 2.4 Teach Pendant. 2 to 24. Table 2.4.11 Jog dial functions. When allocating functions, function, allocation, status operation. When to use. Details, executes the record, overwrites, adjusts the position. Interpolation can be switched. Coordinates can be switched. When selecting the robot program monitor in teach mode, inserts the record. Plus when selecting the robot program monitor in teach mode, robot can be moved. 1. Check the operating direction of inching/retracting. 2. Plus performs inching/retracting of the arc weld wire. 2. Plus when selecting the robot program monitor, performs inching/retract of the arc weld wire. 2. 1. For details, see 3.4.3 Moving the robot with the jog dial. 2. For details, see Chapter 8 Basic operations for arc welding. Point. The only function that can be allocated in playback mode is wire inching/retracting. Allocating functions to jog dial operations. Frequently used operations, such as recording or overwriting, can be allocated to the jog dial push button operation, and functions such as manual operation can be allocated to the jog dial rotation operation. This section explains how to allocate operations. Operations are allocated when the robot program monitor is in the selected state. 2.4 Teach Pendant. 2 to 25. +1 When robot program monitor is selected in teach mode, Hold down Shift and press the jog dial. A jog dial function allocation dialog, such as the one shown below, is displayed. To rotate the jog dial, to select the desired icon from record / overwrite / position correction / interpolation / coordinates / insert / manual operation, and either press the push button or touch the icon. The selected function is allocated, and the icon is displayed in the variable status display area. To execute allocated functions, press the jog dial while the robot program monitor is selected. The same function as when the edit key is pressed during allocation is executed. Info. To change the allocated function, perform the same operation. The allocated function can also be changed by pressing the displayed icon. For details on the tool fine adjustments, see 3.4.3 moving the robot with the jog dial. Clearing the allocated function from the jog dial. +1 with the icon of the function allocated to the jog dial displayed in the variable status display area. Select the robot program monitor, and hold down Shift and press the jog dial. The allocated function is cleared, and the icon display disappears. Info. When switching modes, such as from the teach mode to playback mode, the function allocated to the jog dial is automatically disabled. 2.5 to input characters. 2 to 26. 2.5 to input characters. The method used to input characters is described here. Functions of soft keyboard 1. When the status in which characters can be input is established, the soft keyboard starts up. To select characters using one of the following methods. Select the characters using the up, down, left and right keys, and press Enter or F11 Enter. Touch the characters that you want to enter on the screen. Plus, to move the cursor in the character input field, press the left or right key while holding down Enable. To input a space, press F4 or F10 blank. To delete a character, move the cursor to the right of the character to be deleted, and press F5 BS. The character to the left of the cursor is now deleted. 2. To record the characters which have been input, press F12 complete. The characters are recorded, and operation returns to the original screen. 2.5 to input characters. 2 to 27. To input letters of the alphabet or symbols. 1 alphanumerics and half-size symbols can be input in the initial start status of the soft keyboard. 2. Input the characters by following the steps on the previous page. 2.5 to input characters. 2 to 28. Note Chapter 3 Turning the power on/off and manual operation. This chapter describes how to turn the power on/off and how to operate the robot manually. 3.1 Turning the control power to on. 3 to 1 3.2 Mode selection. 3 to 2 3.2.1 When the operation box is connected. 3 to 2 3.2.2 When there is an operation panel. 3 to 3 3.3 Turning the motor power to on. 3 to 4 3.4 Moving the robot manually. 3 to 6 3.4.1 Movement direction. 3 to 6 3.4.2 Moving the robot manually. 3 to 9 3.4.3 Moving the robot with the jog dial. 3 to 10 3.4.4 Switching the mechanism. 3 to 13 3.4.5 Stopping the robot. 3 to 14 3.4.6 Setting the manual speed. 3 to 14 3.5 Turning the motor power to off. 3 to 16 3.6 Turning the control power to off. 3 to 16 This is dummy page. Do not erase. 3.1 Turning the control power to on. 3 to 1. 3.1 Turning the control power to on. In order to use robot, first turn the controller's control power to on. Danger. Before turning on the control power, the controller's door must be closed without fail. Receiving an electric shocks from touching any of the power supply areas may result in death or serious injury. Turning the control power to on. 1. First, check the position of the circuit breaker power switch. This position differs depending on the series and the specifications. Breaker. 2. Turn the circuit breaker to the on position. Theft 11 System starts up automatically, and self-diagnosis is commenced. 3. If self-diagnosis is completed without any problems detected, a screen such as the one shown below is displayed on the Teach pendant. The robot is now ready to operate. 3.2 Mode selection. 3 to 2. 3.2 Mode selection. The controller features a Teach mode that is mainly used for creating programs, and a playback mode that is for automatically running programs. 3.2.1 When the operation box is connected, the mode is selected using the mode select switch on the operation box. Mode selection. 1. The mode can be checked on the Teach pendant display. Teach playback. 2. Rotate the mode select switch on the operation box to either the Teach side or playback side. The mode switches to the selected mode. The correlation between the switch positions and the modes selected is shown below. Mode switch position teach pendant display, teach mode, teach playback, playback mode, teach playback. In this state, the robot cannot be operated manually or automatically. Continue with the following operations. 3. Turn the TP selector switch on the teach pendant to the teach or playback position so that the operation panel and teach pendant are both set to the same mode. When one of the following combinations is used, the robot can be operated manually or automatically. Mode operation box TP selector, switch teach pendant display, teach mode, teach playback, playback mode, teach playback, info. If the operation box and TP selector switch do not match, one of the following messages is displayed. E0967 teach pendant selector switch is set to manual. A2006 teach pendant selector switch is set to automatic. For the following explanation concerns manual operation and teaching, so keep the teach mode as the selected status. 3.2 Mode selection. 3 to 3. 3.2.2 When there is an operation panel, the mode is selected using the mode select switch on the operation panel that is installed on the front of the controller. Mode selection. 1. The mode can be checked on the teach pendant display. 2. To switch the mode, use the mode select switch on the operation panel. The correlation between the switch positions and the modes selected is shown below. Mode switch position teach pendant display, teach mode, playback mode. In this status, however, the robot cannot be operated, either manually or automatically. Perform the following operation to initiate operation. 3. Turn the TP selector switch on the teach pendant to the teach or playback position so that the operation panel and each pendant are both set to the same mode. When one of the following combinations is used, the robot can be operated manually or automatically. Mode operation panel TP selector switch teach pendant display, teach mode, playback mode, info. If the operation panel and TP selector switch do not match, one of the following messages is displayed. E0967 teach pendant selector switch is set to manual. A2006 teach pendant selector switch is set to automatic. For the following explanation concerns manual operation or teaching, so establish the manual operation enabled status before proceeding any further. 3.3 Turning the motor power to on. 3 to 4. 3.3 Turning the motor power to on. To move the robot, turn the motor power to on. If the robot is not going to be moved, the motor power need not be turned to on. Danger. Before turning the motor power to on, be absolutely sure to check that no one is near the robot. If the robot should move without warning and come into contact or sandwich a person, death or serious injury may result. Turning the motor power to on in the teach mode. Take the following steps to turn the motor power to on in the teach mode. 1. Check that the teach mode has been selected. If the teach mode has not been selected, turn the mode select switch and set it to the teach mode. Operation box motor on. Operation panel, teach pendant, plus. 2. Press the motor on button, or hold down the enable key and press the motor on key. The motor on button is provided on the operation box or operation panel. The enable and motor on keys are provided on the teach pendant. The motor on button green lamp flashes. In this state, power is not supplied to the motor, and the robot cannot be controlled. The indicator which indicates motor power on servo off appears in the mode display area of the teach pendant. 3. Grasp the enable switch. The green lamp of the motor on button remains lit. The indicator which indicates motor power on servo on appears in the mode display area of the teach pendant. While the enable switch is grasped, power is supplied to the motor, and the robot can be moved by pressing the axis operating keys. This completes the preparations for operating the robot. 3.3 Turning the motor power to on. 3 to 5. Concerning the operation of the enable switch to operate the robot in the teach mode. The robot must be operated while the enable switch is grasped. This switch is not used in the playback mode. If the enable switch is released, the servo is turned off, and the robot stops immediately. When the enable switch is grasped again, the servo comes back on. Grasping the enable switch tightly until a clicking sound is heard also causes the servo power to be turned off and the robot to stop immediately. Double type enable switch may be provided on the rear panel of the teach pendant as an option. In this case, the servo power goes off when both are grasped at the same time. When the emergency stop button has been pressed or the emergency stop command has been input from an external source during operation, the Servo power can no longer be turned on or off by operating the enable switch. In cases like this, perform steps 2 to 3 above. Point. When the enable switch cannot be operated, has the emergency stop button on the teach pendant been pressed? Turn the emergency stop button clockwise to release it. Has the emergency stop command been input from an external source? The preparations for the peripheral devices on the system side have not been completed. First complete the preparations on the system side, and then release the emergency stop command. Are the TP selector switch on the teach pendant and the mode select switch on the operation panel control box both at the teach position? Set both switches to the teach position. Info. Turning on the motor power in the playback mode. Proceed as follows to turn on the motor power in the playback mode. 1. Check that the playback mode has been selected. Operation panel. Operation box motor on. Teach pendant. Plus. 2. Press the motor on button, or hold down the enable key and press the motor on key. The motor power is turned on, and the specified program can be played back at any time. The indicator which indicates motor power on servo on appears in the mode display area of the teach pendant. Point enable switch need not be operated in playback mode. The motor power is turned on servo on when the motor on button is pressed. Pressed. The enable switch is not used. 3.4 Moving the robot manually. 3 to 6. 3.4 Ones that are frequently used. Axis coordinate system. Each of the robot's axes moves independently. Machine coordinate system. The robot tip moves in a straight line. The tip moves along the coordinates reference to the robot. The direction of the axis along which the wrist moves differs depending on the type of application, such as spot welding or arc welding, used. Movements of the robot using the axis coordinate system. S plus X, RX, RX plus. The robot body rotates. The upper arm rotates. I minus I plus. Y, Y plus. The lower arm moves back and forth. The wrist moves up and down. Z, S plus. RZ, RZ plus. The upper arm moves up and down. The wrist rotates. Fig. 3.4.1 Movement directions in the axis coordinate system. 3.4 Moving the robot manually. 3 to 7. Movements of the robot in the machine coordinate system for the arc welding application. Z, X, Y, Y, X, S plus, RX plus, RX. The robot moves along the X-axis. The rotation of the 6th axis rotation center line centers on the Z-axis while the tool tip is fixed. I plus, Y, Y plus, Y. The robot moves along the Y-axis. The rotation of the torch centers on the torch tip on the plane formed by the torch line and Z-axis while the tool tip is fixed. Z, S plus, RZ, RZ plus. The robot moves along the Z-axis. The rotation of the torch centers on the torch line while the torch posture remains fixed and the tool tip is fixed. Fig. 3.4.2 Movement directions in the machine coordinate system for the arc welding application. 3.4 Moving the robot manually. 3 to 8. Movements of the robot in the machine coordinate system for the spot welding application. Z, Y, X, X, S plus, RX plus, RX. The robot moves along the X-axis. The robot rotates around the X-axis while maintaining the tool center. I plus, Y, Y, Y plus. The robot moves along the Y-axis. The robot rotates around the Y-axis while maintaining the tool center. Z, S plus, RZ plus RZ. The robot moves along the Z-axis. The robot rotates around the Z-axis while maintaining the tool center. Fig. 3.4.3 Movement directions in the machine coordinate system for the spot welding application. 3.4 Moving the robot manually. 3 to 9. 3.4.2 Moving the robot manually. 1. Check that the teach mode has been selected. 2. Press the motor on button, or hold down the enable key and press the motor on key. The preparations for moving the robot are now complete. 3. To change the speed, press check SPD/teach speed. Any speed from 1 to 5 can be selected. Each time this key is pressed, the speed is changed by one setting in the following sequence: 1 2, 5 1, and so on. Info. The manual speed can be changed by grasping the enable switch and rotating the jog dial while holding down shift. 4. The target mechanism for manual operation appears on the teach pendant. The selected mechanism is displayed in colors. 5. Grasp the enable switch. While this switch is grasped, the motor power is turned on. 6. Press the axis operation keys that corresponds to the direction in which the robot is to be moved. The robot is moved in accordance with the selected coordinate system. 3.4 Moving the robot manually. 3 to 10. 3.4.3 Moving the robot with the jog dial. If the manual operation function is allocated to the jog dial, the robot is moved by rotating the jog dial. First, select the operation condition appropriate for the application in the following settings screen. Selecting the operation conditions for jog dial manual operation and operator qualification of expert or above is required. Select the operator qualification before operation. 1 in F5 constant setting -5 operation constants, -1 operation condition. Select 35 JogGL manual operation. The following setting screen is displayed. +2 Select enable +left/right. Select the operation condition appropriate for the application from the 3 setting items in the following table. Table 3.4.1 Operation conditions for jog dial manual operation. Setting item operation description. Fix the robot operation conditions when the jog dial is rotated are set automatically to the tool coordinate system and manual speed 1. Select when the jog dial manual operation is limited to fine adjustment of the tool tip position. In teaching work, a convenient method is to divide operations so that the axis operating keys are used in normal situations, and jog dial operations are used for fine adjustment work only. Select the robot operation conditions when the jog dial is rotated are the currently selected coordinate system and the movement amount corresponding to the manual speed 1 to 5 for details on setting the movement amount. See 3.4.6 Setting the manual speed. The robot movement amount movement distance can be set for each manual speed 1 to 5. This makes it easy to avoid obstructions on the teaching line or perform fixed movement operations. For example, temporarily withdraw the tool tip from the current teaching position in the vertical direction, move a fixed amount in the horizontal direction, return to the position in the vertical direction. Disable disables the jog dial manual operation. Select to disable robot movement using the jog dial operation. 3 After configuring the setting, press F12 complete. The setting is saved and the display returns to the original screen. Next, allocate